Hello and welcome to the Private Practice Podcast. I'm Dr. Brooklyn Storme, and with nearly 30 years experience in the industry, I'm really excited to share practical insights, valuable wisdom, and all the tools that you need to build a thriving private practice. So whether you're a counsellor, psychologist, social worker, or play therapist, this podcast is all about keeping it real with stories, strategies, and all the support you need to help you flourish in business. We're going to be embracing a mind, business, spirit approach, diving into honest conversations that will uplift your practice and soul. And if you haven't already, come and join us in the Counsellors Connect Australia Facebook group. It's totally free and you'll find a warm, supportive community of like-minded professionals. So go grab your favorite drink, your journal, a pen, get cozy, and let's dive into the mind, business, spirit approach to private practice that you've been looking for. Good morning from not so sunny Daylesford. Yes, I'm here again, and I have to say, I love it. So it's autumn here, and just driving in through the country to get to Daylesford has been such a pleasure for the eyes because all the leaves are changing colour. So there's red and orange and yellow, and it's just so good. And just as soon as I started driving here, I could feel my energy coming back. It was so good. And I just love it so much. You know, Daylesford's my happy place. I was speaking to somebody just before I came up here, and she said, "What do you mean you're going on another holiday?" I said, "Yeah. I mean, this is the fourth one this year." And I didn't even realize that until she pointed it out to me, but she's right. And I think the reason that I can do it is because I set the business up to be able to do it. Okay, so just before we get started, a couple of little heads up here. Number one, because it is so cold, my nose is a little bit runny because I've been outside this morning. I went for a walk. The place where I'm staying, it is it's in a winery, and my cottage or my little thing where I'm staying, it's up on stilts. I really love it. And it's got this beautiful aspect. And when you look out, you can see, maybe 20 rows of vines for grapes, and then it's just like the gully, right? It just like drops off, and you can't see down into the gully, but you can see across the other side, and there's big gum trees everywhere, and it is still pretty early in the morning, I'd say. What have we got? 10 to 9, is it? 10 to 9, yes. And it's magic. So look outside now, and because the sun is getting higher and higher, it's throwing different light onto all of these trees that are just like, oranges and golds and reds. And it's just, it's so beautiful, but it is freezing. It is freezing. So, my nose is a little bit runny from the cold. So I'm sorry if that's going to bother you. The other thing too is I've got my earbuds in because it's so cold. I've had to start a fire. So I've got the fire going, and it is raging in the little fireplace. It's this, well, I guess it's like a normal sized little fireplace. It's one of those ones with the door on it, that you close with the handle that goes up and down. And I had to like assemble the kindling and then, make the little triangle with the sticks and then put the big one on top. But that's going. So hopefully this place will heat up pretty soon because I am cold. Anyway, I wanted to come on because it's Saturday and I want to get a podcast out to you, of course. And while I had good intentions, I just didn't record one before I left because I was busy helping people get into the Diploma Counsellor Society, which is open until tomorrow night, by the way. So if you want to join, you're still welcome to do that. I'd love to see you there. Anywho, because it's Daylesford, of course, this is where I come for. Well, if you think about the tarot, I'm hermiting right now. This is about me being in solitude, doing inner work, doing reflection, working with my shadow. So, I'm very much in my hermit energy right now. I am also in my auntie era, but that's a different story. Thank you very much, Taylor Swift. But right at the moment, I am hermiting. And so I went to, when I got here, my very, very favorite place to go for tarot and oracle cards and crystals and stuff like that. It's called Empress and the Wolf. And I bought a brand new deck of tarot cards. Seriously, guys, I must have, I don't know, maybe 300 decks of tarot and oracle cards, but I do use them and I love them. And get this, the other day, like total side note here, but the other day, my sister was asking me about the tarot cards and why do I buy them and all of this. She doesn't get it. She's not she's not like me. But anyway, I was looking at them online and I realized that I've got tarot decks there that are worth, $500 and $600 now. And they're just worth that because of things that change, like I've got the very first set of oracle cards ever, 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 ever. I got them when I was a teenager. Um, I don't know whatever happened to them, but I went and bought a duplicate box, I don't know, years ago. Anyway, that box is like brand new, thank goodness, because now it was called, the cards were called Healing with the Angels by Doreen Virtue. And they're a beautiful introduction to the Oracle, actually. And anyway, you can't get the cards now. And she's not printing any cards now. She's sort of changed direction. And now that deck of cards is worth 600 and something dollars. There's another deck of cards that I've got by Radley Valentine. I want to say Puss in Boots. It's not Puss in Boots. I think it's called the Cat Tarot or something. That's another one. It's suddenly skyrocketed. I think I paid, I don't know, $50 for it or something back in the day, but now that's $700. So yeah, it's nice because now I'm like feeling like I can justify the spend. It's like these are my little investments now. But anyway, I bought a deck of cards yesterday and it's called the Wandering Star. And that was interesting because as I was driving up, I was practicing my manifesting skills, right? Because it's been a long time since I've intentionally spent time in that space, but I was driving in and I thought, yeah, I'm going to manifest something and I'm just going to go right back to the basics and I'm just going to manifest myself, the standard car park out the front of Mill Market. That's what I wanted, a Batman spot out the front. This is a very common thing for people to practice, and you should use something like this to practice your manifesting because you want to detach from the outcome when you do it. So, if you don't get the Batman spot, you're not going to be that put out, right? But if you say straight away, well, I want to manifest, a $5,000 week with my private practice, that may not happen for you. And then you will be upset about it. So while you're learning or while you're relearning or perhaps while you're revising, like I am at the moment, getting back into it, it's always a good idea to start, with small things first that don't really matter, just because it's easier to build your confidence, build that manifesting muscle, and of course, uh, not be so attached to the outcome because it's when we attach to things that we can choke them or strangle them, like we hold on so tightly that the universe can't do its thing. Anywho, so I was doing that, and I was really thinking into, okay, I'm imagining it, I'm visualizing it. This is while I'm driving into Dalesford. I'm imagining it, I'm visualizing it. I'm also allowing myself to feel into it because here's the thing, like we are electromagnetic beings. Your thoughts are electric, your feelings are magnetic. You know this already, I know that. So don't worry, I'm not going to go into it. But yeah, so you have to understand that it's not just when you manifest, it's not just thinking and wishing and wanting and praying and, efforting, or it's not all cognitive. You have to also feel into already having it. And that's the tricky part. But what works for me in terms of feeling like I already have it, because when I was first starting to learn about manifesting, I found that bit really hard because my head would get in the way and say, but you don't really have it yet. And how can you imagine what it feels like if you've never had it? You don't have experience to draw upon it. And so I just get in my own way. But now what I do is, my little strategy is, I imagine that I've already received the thing that I'm going to have, and that I'm talking to you and I'm telling you about it, or I'm telling my friend Kim about it. And I'm like, hey, guess what? This thing happened, or I'm telling my mum or my sister. So I'm kind of imagining having had it, having the memory of having had it, and then telling you about what it was like when I had it. But anyway, that's my secret tip there for how to get out of your head and feel into it. So when you can do those things, then it brings you into better resonance so that you can bring it into your reality or shift your reality so that you see it. And so, yeah, that's what I was doing. And then, sure enough, I got to Mills Market. As I was driving through Dalesford towards Mills Market, I was getting like butterflies. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, it's so exciting. Like, I can't wait to see if there's going to be that Batman spot out the front. I was so excited about it. And anyway, I was like a little kid. And then, sure enough, I was turning into the street where it is, and I pulled in behind another car, and I thought, oh no, she's going to go and get my car park. But no, universe intervened. Turns out she was going to a residential house, and she turned right, and I needed to turn left into the car park. So I turned left into the big car park at Mill Market. I'm driving down, and then guess what? Not one, but two Batman spots side by side right out the front of the Mill Market. So I did take a photo for myself for my vision board for proof that I can manifest stuff. And today I will do something else that's maybe a little bit more tricky, but it's just been so much fun. But the thing too is that as I was driving along thinking about this, I was thinking about how our thoughts really do influence, and the way that we feel really do influence what we see in our business. And this doesn't have to have anything to do with manifesting if you don't want it to. Okay, if you do want it to, you can apply what I'm about to say to that, but not required. The reason that I started thinking about this was because when I was going back to, okay, what did I used to do when I was being intentional with the manifesting, I remembered that, there's in quantum physics, we talk about, there's parallel. I know this is going a bit far for a Saturday morning, isn't it? Let's just say, not, we don't have to say parallel words. We can say there are other versions of reality, and you get what you see. You get what you see what you believe, is what I meant to say. And we all know this from our study in counselling and in psychology and in social work. We all learned, well, I think we all learned about things like neuroscience. We learned about the subconscious mind, and we learned about how it acts as a filter, because our senses receive, 2 billion bits of information every second or something. It's crazy how much information there is out there in the world, but our brain is only capable of processing about 2% of that. Otherwise, we'd be so overwhelmed. And so, what we use to process that 2% is our subconscious mind. And what's in our subconscious mind is the filter of what we believe about the world and what we believe to be true. What's this got to do with private practice? Well, if you believe, for example, that we're in an economic crisis and you're not going to be able to fill your diary, if that's what you believe, then your brain is wired to only bring you back information that supports the belief. And so you're constantly having that belief reinforced. If you believe that, oh, well, I can't get clients because I'm in a rural or regional area and there's issues around funding and I can't do this and I can't do that. If that's what you believe to be true, then what's happening is you're missing out on the other 98% of information that's coming into you every second of the day. And you're only getting the 2% of information that's backing up that belief. Okay. And so it's really, 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 really difficult to change the way someone thinks, and it's really difficult to change somebody's beliefs because a lot of the time they are there in the subconscious. They're not always conscious. We have experiences in the conscious, but usually it's when something unwanted happens that we get that jarring sensation, we get that big jolt, and that's when we know that something's shaken our beliefs. So when someone like me comes along and says, well, hey, actually, that might be true for you, but it's not true for many other businesses that operate in your area, in that regional and rural area. I know this because I work with them and they are doing well, they are fully booked, and da 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 da. That gives you a jolt because it's so far removed from the 2% that your mind is bringing back for you, right? So then this got me thinking about, the power of what we tell ourselves and the power of our beliefs. And anyway, after I went to Mills Market, this was still all playing on my mind, and I went over to Empress and the Wolf, which is where I go to. It's like fun for me. I like to go there and look at the jewelry and the crystals. And anyway, I was manifesting the perfect set of tarot cards for me, right? So Mill Market is literally about a 1 minute drive. You can walk from Mill Market to Empress and Wolf. Unfortunately, because I'm approaching a milestone birthday, that's my excuse. It's no excuse. That's what I'm saying though. And because it's so cold, I just can't. So I drove. Okay, I drove. Anyway, so I go to Empress and the Wolf, and sure enough, I never look in the windows, but I saw other people looking in the window, and then I had FOMO, and I thought, oh, I better look in the window too. So I did, and there was a tarot deck there called the Wandering Star, and so as soon as I laid eyes on it, I knew I had to have that deck. So I got it, and then last night I was sitting down and I was just shuffling the cards, just trying to look at them and see what they felt like. I really like them. They look like they've been hand drawn, like with a black felt tip pen or something, and then sort of coloured in. They're really nice to look at, and they're lovely to hold. They're very slippery, which is great because the style I use for reading is to shuffle and wait until they jump out of the deck. So there were many that were jumping out of the deck last night. It was fantastic. But I saw the card from the Major Arcana called the Magician. And, when I saw the Magician and the Magician's there, like with all the things, and, the Magician card is all about creating things from nothing. It's about manifestation. It's about um, transformation, shifts, all those kinds of really beautiful things. And it got me to think about the song Abracadabra. Well, that came into my head. You know that song? I think it's from the 70s or 80s, but it goes, Abracadabra, I'm gonna reach out and grab you, right? That popped into my head. And I thought to myself, this has happened for a reason. I need to pay attention to this. And then, of course, I started reflecting on abracadabra, and then I heard that it's from Aramaic, and I think the actual words are two words in Aramaic: Avra, Avra, and Kadabra, Kehdabra, and it actually means I will create through my words. And I thought, that's so interesting given everything that I've been thinking about yesterday. And I'm still obviously thinking about it this morning. And I thought too that it's so true. Like, even if you take something like cognitive behavior therapy, we're looking there at the association, aren't we, between what somebody's experiencing in the world in terms of their behavior and their feelings as a result of the things that they're thinking. It's so interesting. And this isn't a new concept at all. This underpins so many different therapeutic modalities. I'm just saying, can you see the similarity? Isn't it interesting how this idea has kind of thoughts becoming things and creating your reality through your words, through your language? Isn't it interesting how that crosses disciplines? I really find that interesting from an academic perspective. Anywho, what else was I going to say? I'm getting distracted because I'm looking at the beautiful big gum trees out my window at the moment, and they're swaying in the wind, and there's lots of cockies, running around. And last night went out to my car to get one of my bags, and I came back in. I put the bag down, and then I said to myself, "Did you lock the car, Brooklyn?" And my higher self was like, "You better go and check that car's locked." I said, "Okay, higher self," and I left my little cottagey apartment thing here. I left the door ajar, and I just went to like pop my head around the corner and click my key ring so that the alarm would go off on the car. But it didn't go off because the car is like out of sight. Anyway, that was frustrating because then I had to put on my shoes and go out to the actual car park, which isn't that far away. It's probably about 50 steps away. But anyway, and then I did it, and I got the glow of the tail light, and the beep sort of sound, and then I started to come back to the accommodation here, and there's this huge kangaroo. It was about as tall as me, and it was standing right out the front of my door. I kid you not, it was standing right out in front of my door, and it had been, I guess, walking along quietly, and I had been walking along not so quietly because it's gravelly. And then we saw each other, and we both just froze. And I was like, I need to get into that apartment. I hope the kangaroo hasn't realised that the door's open. And I was cooking pork sausages with onion and tomato and spinach and mashed potato. So I had all of that going. And then I started to panic because I was thinking, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? And the kangaroo wouldn't leave. And then I didn't know what to do. So I started backing away from the kangaroo, and I was like, yeah, I'll give you space. It's all right. I'm going to give you space so that you can get past, because it's quite a narrow, gravelly path. And so I'm walking backwards, maintaining eye contact with every step with the kangaroo. And, you know, I make space. I'm like backing away, and I'm like, okay, you've got a clear path. You can come through now. And the kangaroo's just staring at me and wouldn't move. I didn't know what to do. I was so scared. And then I went and sat in the car, and I sat in the car for maybe 30 seconds before I thought, no, hopefully it's moved on by now. I can't sit in this car. I've got food on the stove, which isn't really a stove, by the way. It's an induction cooker. It's my first time using one. I'm not gonna ever use one. I don't like it. Maybe it's just not a good one. It's a Smeg, but it took like 10 minutes for the pan to heat up. My poor little sausages were just sitting there saying, well, what do you expect me to do? Like, it's not hot here. I can't cook for you. Anyway, so then I got out of the car, locked it, and started to walk back towards the apartment. The kangaroo was still standing there, only now it's bending down and it's like checking out the apartment. It can actually see in the door, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness gracious, if this kangaroo decides to go in the apartment, what's going to happen? Like, is it going to, I don't know, is it going to trash the joint? I don't know. And I was really worried. And then eventually we just decided that we were going to have a stare off. So we're just staring at each other. It's like me and Buddy. Sometimes I have to like just maintain eye contact with him before he'll move on and do something else. So that's what was happening with this kangaroo. And then eventually it moved on. Then I quickly came inside and locked the door, and I was like, oof, but my heart was beating and racing. Anyway, I think it's really important that we understand that thoughts create our experience of the world around us, and that if you shift your beliefs, which is just a repeated thought, right? A belief is just a thought that you've had over and over and over and over and over and over again. And now it just happens on autopilot, and it becomes the lens for how you're going to see your private practice. And this was a very roundabout way of getting there, but forgive me. I'm off coffee, as you know. I'm cold. I'm still trying to warm up. Okay, so this is the power of language, and we know and understand the power of language, as you heard before. So let's have a look for a moment at limiting beliefs, because I want you to really consider, what are you telling yourself about your private practice? And is it something like nobody will pay that fee? Is it that people can't afford it? Is it that marketing sucks and, I don't like it? Is it that this will never work for me? Like, what's coming up for you? Maybe a really fantastic activity to do, or exercise to do rather, is to grab your journal and just journal. And I always say, just write everything out until there's nothing left. Empty your mind completely. Don't worry about spelling or how pretty or neat it is. Just get it all out. When you hit that wall, then try and come up with three more things. They're going to be the things that you want to be working with, right? And there's a scientific reason behind doing it until you hit the wall and then going past. It links back to the critical factor. But anyway, we can talk about that another time. And I want you to then have a look at how those beliefs might be unconsciously undermining the success that you want to start seeing in your private practice. Like, how are they undermining your success? Like, for example, this is something I'm working on at the moment, okay? At the moment, as you know, like with my life, there's been shifts of priorities and stuff like that. It means now that I need to shift my income. I need to shift my weekly income. I need to raise it, not so I can be a millionaire and not so I can buy a Ferrari or anything like that, but so I can do things like, cover increasing medical bills for an aging parent, stuff like that. So I need to start thinking, okay, how am I going to do that? So I will be working on this while I'm actually here at Dalesford over the next, 9 days. There's only 9 more sleeps left. But that's what I'm going to be working on. And the reason I'm going to be working on it is because this is something that I've been needing to do for a while now. And for some reason, I find it difficult to, we spoke previously about that financial set point being similar to the thermometer that you have at home or at your practice, where, if your set point is, say, I don't know, maybe your set point is a $3,000 week. If you're looking like running lower than that $3,000, you usually will find a way to make sure that you bring in the $3,000. And you do. If you don't like that example, another one might be, if you've got a bill to pay, but the money isn't there for it, you usually find a way to pay that bill, right? So anyway, similar thing. Not the same, I know, but similar. And the flip side of that too is when you have a air quotes good week and you make more than that $3,000, what will happen is you'll spend it and bring it back down to 3,000. That's called your financial set point. So I'm dealing with my financial set point at the moment, and in my head, like consciously, I feel like, well, you're doing all of the things, you just had that launch in April and you bought these other courses and you implemented those things, what's going on? Like, I want to break the pattern of thinking like I need to do different things or I need to do more things, because in my heart, I feel like I already know exactly what I need to do. But for some reason, I keep defaulting back to these old behaviors of, I better buy the next course. I better learn how to do Instagram better, or things like that, right? So I want to break that cycle. It's really important to me while I'm here hermiting to be able to reflect on what's going on. And I will be doing this activity that I've just shared with you, writing out everything I believe about why I'm having trouble breaking my own or raising my own set point. And when I have emptied my mind of everything, then I will sit with it and I'm not going to get up until I've written 2 or 3 more things. And then they're the 2 or 3 things that I'm going to be working with, right? Hopefully that's going to give me some insight about how these thoughts that I'm holding on to are undermining my success. Okay, we inadvertently reinforce our own limiting beliefs about success, about our clients' outcomes, or even about our professional growth through negative self-talk. Saying, I can never do this. This will never work for me. I give up. This is too hard. What am I missing? What am I not doing? Right? Reinforcing those unwanted beliefs that just aren't being very helpful to us happens, right? And it happens through that self-talk. It's abracadabra, right? I will create my reality with my words. So if you're constantly saying those things, they become beliefs, and that's what you're going to see, and that's what's going to be reinforced. There are strategies for identifying and transforming those beliefs into more empowering ones. So once you've done that journal exercise, what you would then do is, maybe it depends on you and how you like to process things. I'm a writer. I feel like I get more from writing, but you might like to contemplate things while you're out in nature going for a walk or something like that. But definitely looking at, you know, opening up your mind to possibilities. This is very important, because if we say to our mind, well, that's just not true, our mind will say, well, yes, it is, and we're going to be back at square one. I find it easier to say something like, I'm in the process of getting better at calling in clients or raising my financial set point, or, with this skill that you're focusing on. So that's something that works for me, using process words. I'm on process phrases. I'm getting better at. I'm learning how to. I'm on a journey. Phrases like that, your subconscious mind cannot argue with, because they are true. Your subconscious mind will block things that it believes to be untrue because of, it's called, in Toltec philosophy, when I was like learning all that and shamanism and everything, it was referred to as the guardian of the mind. But I think we could call it, in our lingo, probably ego. Like, it's just there to protect you. And so it doesn't want to let things in to your awareness or into your subconscious mind that you don't believe to be true or that are false. So it blocks things. So instead of, saying the opposite to what you believe, if you use a process phrase like, I'm getting better at, or I'm learning how to, or I can see every day that, yes, some things are starting to improve for me, things like that, your mind can't argue with that. And that unlocks the door to you being able to shift those unconscious beliefs, right? Subconscious beliefs, sorry. The other thing too is, we have this idea of a self-fulfilling prophecy, and you all know what that is. But a self-fulfilling prophecy happens when it comes to things like attracting clients. I really struggle with marketing. Well, if you say that you really struggle with marketing, you will struggle with marketing, and then you're going to see the effect of that, which is not as many inquiries as you perhaps could have had. If you say to yourself something like, clients can't afford me, or clients can't afford to pay for counselling, or they can't afford to pay for my services, then that will manifest for you, right? This is what you're going to see. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. You'll start to get clients reach out and be interested, and you'll speak to them. And then when it comes to the discussion about the fee, they're going to say, I can't afford it. And this is going to reinforce what you already in your mind believe to be true. And then you're going to say, well, I need to lower my fee. But it doesn't matter how much you lower your fee, because you still hold that belief, and you're using that belief to explain why clients aren't booking in with you. And so with the self-fulfilling prophecy, this continues to get reinforced, and it's going to make the job of undoing that false thinking more challenging. I was going to say more harder. It's going to make it more difficult, right? And we don't want to do that. We want to help you, you know, get better at understanding expectations, and how having certain expectations really does change your experience in the world. Like, if I expect that something's not going to happen, it won't happen. And it won't happen because of a number of things. Yeah, sure, I haven't thought about it, but I'm also on the vibe and the frequency now of attracting people who can't afford it. And I'm probably also not going to market as well. I'm probably going to do, not fantastic marketing, and therefore I'm going to attract the people who can afford it. And by the marketing, I don't mean you're not going to have a pretty picture on your Instagram. Maybe you do, but the strategy behind it isn't pretty. And you're all about lowering the fee and this, that, and the other. And it's not going to work. So we don't want to do any of that. So looking at how can you shift your expectations in order to shape the outcomes that you're seeing and experiencing, and how can you do that through your own dialogue? It's so, so, so important and really amazing how this actually happens. The things that you expect, like, have you heard the saying, you get what you expect? Yeah, your expectations absolutely shape the outcomes, and changing your self-talk, changing the abracadabra, will alter these expectations in a positive direction. It's something to think about. Toward the end of the podcast episode, I'm going to give you journal prompts and some strategies. So don't worry about taking notes at this stage if you are. The other thing to think about too is the reticular activating system. And I've spoken about this so many times on the podcast, but the reticular activating system is a part of the brain whose function it is to filter for relevant information, and it affects what we notice, and it also affects what we ignore. This is what I was talking about before. The reticular activating system is part of your brain, and it is sort of the action taking part of that filter that we spoke about before, that barrier that stops things that we don't believe to be true from coming in. It says, okay, Brooklyn believes that it's hard for her to break her financial thermostat at the moment. So I'm going to go and bring her back evidence that it's hard for her to shift her emotional thermostat. And that's what it does. It is like a dog playing fetch with its owner. The owner throws out the thought, and the dog says, oh, yes, I'll go and fetch back some evidence for you, and brings back the evidence. So it pleases its owner. And it does please you because you feel like there's confirmation. You feel affirmed. You feel like, see, I told you I was right. But it's not that at all. But anyway, that's the function of the reticular activating system. So if it is going to act like a dog, when you throw out a thought into the world and it says, I'm going to chase that thought for you, and I'm going to bring you back the bone, i.e. the evidence, and then you'll be happy with me, and then we'll be happy and we'll be calm, and somatically we're going to be really calm. We're not going to be anxious or anything. We're going to be sort of low vibe because we've just proved, in inverted commas, to ourselves that we were right all along. But you know what I'm saying? Imagine what's going to happen when you start to use some of these process phrases and process words that throw those things out into the world, and start to let the dog bring back evidence for those things happening. So for me, just to give you an example, it might look like I'm getting better at understanding my financial thermostat, or it might say I'm getting better at increasing my financial thermostat. I'm going to throw that idea out like a stick, throwing it out into the world, and I'm waiting for the Raz, my puppy, it's like buddy, bring me back the evidence that, hey, do you know what? You really are getting better at this. That's the role and the function of the Raz. And it's there neurologically to help you and stop you getting overwhelmed, because if you had to process all of those different bits of information, yeah, could you imagine? Anywho, so you can use all these things to help you with your private practice once you understand what they are and how they work. I do believe in affirmations, but not the ones that you get at, say, Empress and the Wolf. I believe affirmations are very powerful when you create them yourself, when you write them down. I really believe that when they come from you, your words have power. And I really believe that if you can believe the affirmation, right? If the affirmation isn't 180 degrees the opposite of your current situation, then I think that it can absolutely work for you. I don't mean stand in front of the mirror and say, 100 times, I'm getting better at my, uh, no, that's not a good example because that one would actually work. I want to give you one that, well, maybe I say to myself in front of the mirror, um, uh, no, sorry, I'm struggling here. I can't think of any private practice related topics. The only topic that's coming into my head is weight because that's on my mind at the moment. But anyway, if you create an affirmation, which is a statement that affirms that you're doing the right thing, that you're on the right path, that you're getting better at something, if you write that kind of statement and you see it a lot and you hear it, I think that that is something that can actually be very, very powerful. Again, back to the whole concept of abracadabra. I remember when I was working with one of my coaches, he got me to have a cut a piece of card up about the size of a business card, and I had to write an affirmation on both sides, and I had to come up with my own affirmations. And one of them was, I'm becoming a highly effective coach. And the other one was, I can't remember. But yeah, and he used to tell me to keep that on me, like in my pocket, or in my wallet, write it as wallpaper on my phone. And he would constantly prompt me, it's really important that you read this, that you check this, that you read it, that you absorb it, and that you don't just read it and put it back in your pocket. You read it, you close your eyes, you take a moment to feel into whatever it is that you're affirming. And the other thing is that you start making decisions from that place for the business. So you start thinking, as a highly effective coach, what would I do in this situation? As a highly effective coach, how would I manage my financial set point? So for you, it might be something like, as a highly successful private practice owner, what would I be doing about my marketing? What would I be doing about my fee? What would I be doing about my confidence? Right? Starting to make decisions from that place of already being where it is you want to be helps you sort of realign and adjust your thinking and your behavior and your feeling. Do you understand? It's almost as if you're role playing. You think, well, what do I really want here? Well, I really want freedom in my practice, right? It's not always about the money. Sometimes it is, and that's okay. So maybe you say, well, I'm at that place where I've got the amount of money that I really want to have. Okay, great. You're not there yet, though. You're in struggle street at the moment, but that's where you want to go. Okay, start thinking about making decisions from the version of you that's already got the success that she wants, right? That is a way to collapse time and make things happen a lot more quickly for you. Anyway, I've written out a few affirmations for you. I've got 4. See how you go with them, but I would encourage you to tweak them and change them to make them your own. But one of the ones that I've got is, I'm a skilled therapist who provides exceptional value, and I trust in my ability to support and guide my clients effectively. That's one. The next one is an affirmation for your growth. So I say, each day I attract and retain clients who benefit from my expertise and who help my practice thrive. The next one is for resilience. I'm capable of overcoming challenges that come my way, and each challenge is an opportunity for my growth. Another one that I really like there is, how is this challenge happening in order to support me to get to the next level? Because I really believe that, and I heard this once, I never forgot it, and it just made so much sense to me, so I'll share it with you now. But that challenges and obstacles are gifts, if you like. They're gifts that help you to unlock whatever it is and deal with whatever it needs to be dealt with and become the version of the you that you need to become so that you can move into that next level. So if you have been wanting to get to a certain place in your private practice for a while, but you keep having this thing happen, maybe it's a client issue, maybe it's around payments, maybe it's around cancellations, whatever it is, start looking at, okay, how is this a gift? What am I meant to be learning from this? How is this happening for my growth right now? Because the thing that you want is going to be on the other side of that lesson. So rather than just kind of dealing with it week in, week out, sit back and say to yourself, okay, this is obviously happening for a reason. How is it happening for my growth? Because the universe will only give you what you can deal with and what you're ready for. So if you've been feeling stuck or like it's Groundhog Day and things like that, then there's something there that you just still need to work through and unlock and process, potentially. The last one that I have for you with the affirmations, and then I'll give you some journal prompts, is an affirmation for success. And that just says, success is a product of my effort, and I'm creating a thriving practice through my dedication and passion. Okay. The last four things I'm going to give you now are the journal prompts. So one is to support you in reflecting on your values. It says, what are the core values that guide my private practice? How can I align my daily activities in the business more closely with them? And the next one is assessing growth. What were my biggest achievements in my practice last month? What did these achievements teach me about my professional strengths and areas for improvement? The next one is about facing challenges. What are the current challenges that I face in my practice? What steps can I take to transform these challenges into opportunities for growth, like what we are just talking about before? And then the last one is around visioning for your success. Imagine my practice in 1 year. What does success look like? What have I achieved? And what were the steps that I took to get there? Right? So these journal prompts are very, very helpful. They're going to open you up. We're all about opening up. That's what expansion is. We want new ideas. It's you have the aha when you're open to learning, when you're open to saying, okay, maybe what I'm doing isn't working. What else have you got? That's when you get the aha moments. If you're just going to be a naysayer and back chat and you've got a better way and da 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 da, that's fine. You can stay there in that space. That's where you are right now. If you're not coachable, that's where you are right now. And that's okay, because that's part of the process, isn't it? Like if you think about the cycle of change, that's just where you are. You're maybe in this isn't even an issue, or maybe you're in the pre-contemplation stage. You haven't even really started thinking about it yet. But other people that listen to this podcast are in the action stage and they're wanting to do things and to make those changes. So for you, I would say, um, you know, create action steps for yourself from those 4 journal prompts and go and put them in your diary. I just use a Google Calendar, but I mean, you could take a few steps. It's not about making up a big list of things that you have to do, but maybe just work with, I don't know, your favorite prompt of those 4 and make that the focus for the next 30 days. And maybe break it down to 4 steps and say, okay, step 1, I'm going to do next week. Step 2, I'll do the week after, 3 and 4, like that. And then you'll have the 30 days finish and you will have noticed a change, right? So for you who are in that action taking phase, that's what I would recommend that you do. So anywho, I just thought that this was really interesting. I know we talk to our clients all the time about what they're thinking and how their thoughts are creating their version of what's real for them. How many times have you sat with a couple, and what one was thinking, the other one says, but that wasn't my intention and that was nothing. Do you know what I mean? And think about yourself. Like, how many times have you been thinking or feeling something only to realize that you were way off base? It happens to all of us. But I want you to really think about, today, as you sort of go about your day or as you go about the weekend, have a good think about abracadabra. How am I creating my reality through my words? And am I willing to try and change them. And if you're not, that's okay. You're allowed to not be willing or ready yet. And maybe you will be down the track. Maybe you just need time to let the whole idea of this, soak in. And that's totally okay. But there'll be others of you who are like, actually, yeah, I'm ready to do some of this work today. I am going to sit down with my journal and do this. And I am going to just work on that one journal prompt and I'm going to implement, because here's the thing, you will not get results from this podcast if you don't implement the thing. You can consume so much information. You can walk around, you can say, oh, I listen to the private practice podcast and I'm in all Brooklyn's groups and and I'm consuming, but nothing will change in your business unless you actually do something, right? And I don't mean seeing the clients. The clients are always going to be there. You're always going to be seeing the clients. I'm talking about doing the work on yourself so that you start to see work in the business. It's all about the implementation. Nothing changes without you implementing things. So it's time to roll up your sleeves, sit down, do the work, right? I was watching a film last night. Not really paying attention because I was flipping through my new tarot deck while it was on, but it was on Netflix and it was called Pain and Gain. And it was meant to be a comedy, but it was actually pretty dark because it's about a story. Oh, I'm not going to ruin it for you. Anyway, it was a good film. It had some good actors. It had some good characters in it. But if you take a step back and think about the story, it's probably like, oh, maybe this shouldn't have been a comedy. But anyway, the main character goes off to a motivational talk, and this is kind of what sets the ball rolling for his action, because he goes and implements everything, so to speak. He does it in his own way, but the motivational speaker, his name is Johnny Woo, and Johnny Woo, he's played by a character who was in Role Models, and he was also in The Hangover. I don't know his actual name in real life, but you'll recognize him. Anyway, he's standing up there and he says, right, there's the 3-finger rule, or how did I get all of this success? It's a 3-finger rule. And he says, number 1, have a goal. Number 2, have a plan. Number 3, get off your and go and do it. And I think he's right, because so many of us can sit down and we can say, this is my goal, this is what I really want my business, and we might write out a plan. But you know what? I know so many therapists who don't have a business plan. So maybe they haven't even got to that place. Maybe they have, but they're missing number 3. They're not getting off there and doing the work. So we have to always implement. And that's why I really encourage you, after you've written out your journal prompt, created some actions, open up your Google Calendar or your Power Diary calendar, put it as, dummy appointments in the diary, or as tasks for yourself if you've got that feature. Some practice management software does, others don't. But put it in the diary somewhere as something that needs to be ticked off so that you're doing it. And that is when you're going to see change from this podcast, okay? So I hope that this was helpful. Thank you so much for listening. And yeah, as you know, the doors to the Diploma Counsellor Society close tomorrow night. You can still go and join if you want to. I would love to see you in there so that I can help you. And especially if you're a counsellor who does struggle with that whole, it's just a diploma, this program can absolutely help you with that. So thank you so much for listening to another episode. I know it kind of went on. Thank you, despite me having a blocked nose and the fireplace going and all the cracking. The log fell over before. I hope you didn't hear that. I hope these earbuds are ear cancelling, noise cancelling. And I'll see you in the next podcast. Have a lovely weekend, everyone. Bye for now.
I really hope that you got so much enjoyment, value, and insights out of this episode today. And if you did, please feel free to go ahead and leave a review. When you leave a review, it means that more therapists can access this help and support and tools to support them in their private practice and in their journeys. Thank you so much for listening to the show. Have a gorgeous day.